each panel we see number of knowledgeable leaders who were there, and they've actually, imparted great knowledge to people from their own fraternity. But I'd like to welcome everyone. And on behalf of Anjali, I know that she was supposed to join, but because she wasn't keeping well, so her colleague Divya has joined us. Divya, we welcome you.
Thank you, Sugan.
So, just a small introduction of what we'll be speaking about today. So, our topic of conversation is technological advancement at work becoming a glass ceiling or an enabler for women? So, despite significant promotions of diversity in companies as well as in legislation for equal opportunities for men and women, it must be noted that women still remain largely in the minority in decision-making positions. And also with the ongoing technological advancements too in every field, actually both the genders at certain point in working are facing difficulties in coping up. Women specifically feel that in certain situations, they were at ease while they were following the traditional ways of working. For instance, making handy notes, they considered far more better than working on, increasing their typing speeds. So it's just an example that I could quote. And now I open the forum to all you women. How, according to you, has technological advancements impacted the workforce gender gap, particularly in the women's segment? We can begin with Niharika.
Hi, Sugandh. How are you?
All great, all great. Thank you so much for asking.
All right. So I think I go back to what I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to give two sides, to the answer that you asked me. I think technological advancement has pervaded all, right? And especially over the last 2 years with COVID coming in, everyone had to transform. Companies had to transform, business had to transform, people had to transform, and irrespective of gender, because the reliance on technology was so high. Any sector that you look at, the buying pattern from the consumer changed. We all became more concerned about online, right? We've all started buying groceries online. And therefore, technology pervaded each and every part of our lives. As I said earlier, it impacted both men and women. Now, the challenge is, and the way I see this is that for all of us, we have to spend a little bit more time in terms of learning what the technology brings to us. How is it that we need to change? How is it that we need to skill, reskill, and what do we need to do? So that's one side. Second, I think the way I look at it is that COVID was also a blessing in disguise for so many, right? Flexible work options became a work of life. We just have to look at 2 years back, all of us were struggling in some way to get this norm going in the organization. So there were a lot of naysayers that this will not succeed as a model. But now you have hybrid workplace, which exists. That has been a blessing in disguise for working women. And therefore, I say technology has enabled them more, definitely. They're able to women are able to work from whichever corners that they are in. The concept of jobs itself has changed. So we have the concept of gig workers, which have also come in, all a boom for women workers, right? And that's how I see it. Can we do more? Definitely. I think that's the question which you have. We can definitely do more to get more women in. But curiously, I was looking at some of the stats. The women who are working in technology is actually more than the women in workforce. So, and I was looking at certain global facts, which was an interesting take for me. And then I looked at how are we in terms of women percentage in R&D at Luminous. Again, it's a very healthy percentage vis-a-vis the number of women I have holistically. So I think in a nutshell, Sugandh, it has provided an opportunity. It has also led to its challenges. So let's not forget that. And the challenges have been gender agnostic. And I think as organizations and as leaders, it becomes very important for us to ensure that we reskill our employees, again, being gender agnostic, so that they're able to adapt to technology way faster way faster and able to give their output. That's how I would like to
Okay.
summarize your question, Sugam.
Fair enough, Niharika. I believe you've pointed out the issues in a pretty systematic manner. Ruhi, do you have anything to add to it?
No, I resonate with Niharika. I mean, technology has in many ways been a boon, and advancement in automation and digital technologies, while has created many jobs, it has also led to the moving away of a lot of jobs. And that continues even as we talk today. Lots of jobs losses is what you keep saying in newspapers almost on a daily basis. Is there enough data to point out that more women have lost out than men? Actually, I couldn't come across any research. The two, three
Okay.
thoughts which were left in my mind, which when I was reflecting on this question, is twofold. One is when men and women get displaced out of their jobs, I believe that the resilience of women to reskill, the opportunities available for women to reskill and move to some other jobs, or at the speed at which they can do it, perhaps is a little slower than men. So their
Right.
ability to deploy out and get into something newer is coming in the way. The second problem is that a lot of lower order jobs are getting displaced. You don't find specialized jobs getting displaced. You don't find middle order jobs getting displaced as much as lower order. And considering that a lot of your women, even in the current statistics, if you see as you go higher the rung, number of women keeps falling. Considering the representation of women is higher there, that could be perhaps one of the reasons why women might be getting displaced more. But the boon
Okay.
side of it is also true that the technological advancements, the COVID, and the gig economy have also brought to the fore a lot more women being able to work out of remote locations, out of their homes, get into social media platforms, be a part of the gig economy. A lot of women have turned entrepreneur. I was looking at the fact that why only corporates, but a lot of women have turned entrepreneur. They have started doing businesses which they are promoting through the use of social media technologies, which is also heartening. So perhaps gig economy, entrepreneurship is something which women have adopted to more. But the only reason I could think of why women might be falling out of the workplace faster than men could be only these two. One, their ability to reskill and get redeployed. And secondly, the fact that they are more available or more present in the lower echelons. So
No,
those points.
actually, the two aspects that you've pointed out is actually the sole reason, because while I was also doing my own research on this aspect, I could also come across these two aspects. Vaishnavi, do you have anything new to add to it? I mean, I believe you must be resonating with what both
Yeah.
Niharika and Ruhi have said.
Yeah.
But from your experience, anything that you would like to add to it?
No, in interest of time, I think I'd like to resonate with what my fellow colleagues have already said. Maybe just one point to add. We have to actually bifurcate, or rather look at the problem with slightly different lens. We may
Okay.
have to categorize the societies in a different segment. So I believe if you look at the people who are already deployed, who are probably a little bit skilled at some juncture of their career already started, they were more benefited by some of the advancement that were launched, and the accessibility to those part and upskilling etc was higher. But if you look at the other segment, which was actually
Mhm.
getting into the corporates, or probably getting into the graduations or post graduation, or maybe getting that stage that they can get the required skill and be deployed, I think that did not get benefited. Probably we need master skills of policies and projects to bridge that gap of people who are at the stage and who are people who are about to get to that stage. Maybe what we
Okay.
are addressing right now is only one segment which are already at that stage and there is a data around it. But unfortunately, there isn't enough data or statistics to talk about the people or the workforce, especially the women workforce, who haven't reached at that stage.
Okay.
So I think that's another lens. So maybe we corporate and the government and the media and the NGOs and social platforms have to come together to address that. Unless that will happen, unfortunately, as Ruhi was trying to say, as you move up the ladder, you will see less females coming up. Already there's a number of reasons why people probably not able to survive.
The more you lead on to the
There's no
leadership level,
funnel.
the number of
Yes. So
engagements
it
decreases.
will go
Yeah.
blank. There's no funnel. In sales, it's called pipeline. So unless the corporates and governments will come together to build a pipeline, unfortunately, the funnel will continue to fail us on the higher positions.
Very rightly, you've pointed out this aspect. What is the need of government as well as organizations to
Yeah.
fill
Yeah.
into such gaps? Which takes me to my next question. In what ways do you think technology, can perpetuate biases and discriminations against women in workplaces? Basically, how should companies tackle this issue if at all? I wouldn't say if, because across the sectors, most of the companies are facing these biases. So, we can begin this time. We can begin with Divya and take your views on the same as to what can organizations do to curb this issue.
Thank you, Sugandh. So we have to understand that algorithms and AI systems inherit biases from their developers, and artificial intelligence does play a big role when it comes to hiring practices that an organization adopts. So it also has a high possibility of leading to discriminatory outcomes in hiring, sometimes promotions, and even performance evaluations. So an artificial intelligence system operates on and learns from the data it's being fed. So when that data is generated by and collected from humans, it does carry all the biases that we do, including a certain bias about women. So the result, firms that develop technologies that reinforce inequality. So for example, we have seen that key recruitment algorithms have been shut down for favoring male candidates, and how facial recognition technologies have been called out for disproportionately
Right.
misidentifying women. And researchers have found that hiring technologies unfairly screening women in the job application process. Additionally, in tech companies, while I agree with Niharika, there are dominant women workforce there. However, in the leadership positions, we still see underrepresentation. So this could lead to lack of diverse perspectives and perpetuate biases within the industry. To tackle these issues, on the other hand, women need to be provided with a right support system, a system that enables and empowers women to bring out the best of their potential. And we have more when we have more female role models in the field and in senior management, it does inspire other women to follow. From a technology perspective, developers will have to be very conscious not to build bias into the code. And for companies, it calls for clear introspection of the changes it needs to adapt, consciously striving to increase diversity in their hiring practices, or providing upskilling opportunities for women, focusing on equal pay, and closing on gender gaps in leadership positions are great ways to eliminate biases. And I would also urge our women in the workforce to focus on building capabilities and work around their strengths that can help them stay ahead and grab opportunities as they come along.
Beautifully curated, Divya. It seems as if you've been dealing with the same issue within the organization, and it is something that you've crafted, that you're able to give out the input in such a holistic manner. Niharika, do you have anything to add to it? Something that you've been specifically doing within your own organizations as well, and you would want people to know?
A very loaded question that you've asked, but let me try and address. And I'm going to take a little bit of step back to understand what's happening. So if we look at women, and if we look at the number of women who actually take up STEM education, it is around 42%. I was looking at the stats, right? That's the pool of total graduates that you have. But by the time they reach the working sector, it's already gone down to 14%. So there is a gap there. So what is happening, right? I think this whole perception about, a woman should be in a particular field. And I think before this session, I heard someone saying that, it is taught to women that they should be in creative fields or linguistic, right? So I think the perceptions of the society influence a lot on women taking up careers in STEM. I think that's a big struggle for them, right? So the whole the number game that I just spoke about itself talks about it. So I think that's there. Divya has spoken about the advent of AI, and it's a vicious circle, and that's how I see it. See, if you look at the products which get designed, they are designed keeping men in the focus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So interestingly, if you look at, first suitcases were designed for men because they never thought that women would be taking their own suitcases. So that's the kind of perception we had when products were built. Now, if your technology is kind of looking at one way, you have people within the sector who are only designing products for one gender, then we have a problem at hand. Like, who addresses the other gender? And that's what exists, and that's what we need to do. In Luminous, there is a conscious effort to have a very healthy pipeline of women leaders. So we start at the base like anyone else, and we hire a lot of women from campuses. So we're trying to strengthen the base. I'm also happy to say that we have a very good representation of women in leadership team. I have 30% representation in women in leadership, right, which is a great percentage to have. And we also have other development programs, policies, and my policies are gender agnostic. See, when you're in a workforce, you cannot ignore one gender. So you have to take them along in the agenda.
Exactly.
So when I talk about my policies, they're enablers for anyone at a particular life stage. A parental leave is not just for a woman. A parental leave can also be for a male. So you have to ensure that you're taking the other gender along, otherwise they will feel marginalized. So we do a lot of that. And I think the last point, which as women leaders, and this is that we have to be conscious about, is that what is the advocacy that we're providing? I think that's a very important point. Are we uplifting other women? And how are we doing it? For me, the bottom line is that, because otherwise, typically speaking, it's the women who are bringing down women, and it's not just in the professional field, but also in personal spaces. So I think we as women have a strong role to play in lifting our own breed, if I may say so, and also ensuring that we have the advocacy of the other gender and take them along in the transformation journey.
Niharika, there is one aspect that I could find from your response, which was wherein you said that you have 30% of women at leadership or at board level. Could be anything. For many organizations today, having women or having people from marginalized group is more of tokenism. We have 30% women, we have 40% women, but what is the growth percentage of those women within your own organization? Are all those 30% of women getting that ladder to success? Or, there are men or there are people from different areas who are making glass ceilings for them at certain stages. Let's say tech is becoming a glass ceiling for them. There could be other aspects to it as well. So having women in the leadership or within the board level is actually, just a matter of tokenism. I would like Ruhi to actually elucidate on it as to I am clear in this scenario, but you might have a different view to it, or you might want to explain it in a better format. So, what is your view on the same? And in this way, how should companies actually map their growth? Just having women in board is not going to solve the problem. We need to give them a roadmap.
Understood. So, what happens, the 30% at the top level, and we are also fortunate enough to have an equally good number. What it does is it tells women who are joining your organization at a pipeline or an entry level that there is no glass ceiling. One of the people I remember who joined us from a public sector organization, one of the key reasons she told me why she joined us is because 3 women interviewed her. And thereby, there is no glass ceiling. I can grow to any level in this organization. So I think having women in top level, and not just at the board, it's actually at execution senior management level where you need women. Board, yes, is absolutely required. But when women see other women leaders, they get very inspired. They feel that there is no glass ceiling. Secondly, they have role models. There are success stories which also play a role in ensuring that there is no bias when hiring managers are going out and hiring people. There's this innate bias which people carry when they're going out to hire. And actually, your previous question to ask was, can technology play a part? Absolutely. CV masking, ensuring that you use technology or an AI tool to sift through CVs is a great way of ensuring that the gender bias is removed. And You're getting CVs on men and women absolutely at the entry level stage. So when more and more men across the organization see that there are women who are doing well, who are in roles which are not traditional, they are not in HR, they are not in customer service, they are in sales, they are in business development, they are in strategy, is when this entire culture in the organization will get created, which will encourage more and more hiring managers to go out there and recruit more women. Secondly, you should have, organizations should have, and to absolutely, Sugandh, I agree to your point that just having women at the top leadership doesn't make sense. How do you ensure that women from your junior management are going into middle management, middle management to top level? Again, the analytics and tech can play a very important part. Organizations should run this statistic and understand where these biases exist by looking at data. Is 360 being fair to women? Is your fair share of gender parity equity survey of pay? Looking at that, looking at data across promotions, looking at data across performance. If AI and technology can be used across studying these, ensuring that these points where biases can exist are eradicated, you will have a gender agnostic organization. Last but not the least, I love the point which Niharika made. Men have to be allies. How do you ensure that the culture of the organization ensures that men become allies? I would say these would be a few of my points.
Vaishnavi, do you have anything to add to it? Something, that you within your organizations also must be doing?
Yeah, definitely. Very well covered, Niharika and Ruhi. When you have such women, such powerful women at the stage, it is such a wonderful to be. You have to talk less; everything will be covered largely.
No, we are fortunate enough to have.
You've been very kind, Vaishnavi. Very kind.
Thank you so much. No, that's the fact. I personally feel, and that's what we at Comviva believe, is that cascading of success works best when you have use cases. I'm sure people at the IT industry would, able to more understand this term, which is about successful use cases. So when you have brand ambassador, your male leaders being acting as a brand ambassador to successful use cases of how have organization lift up to the women in not only by just bringing them to a certain level, but across the level, how have they been supported. I think that's when you build a successful use case. And I think at Comviva, not only we maintain fine balance around our percentages of these women at the entry level, at the mid senior level, we also ensure the quality. So we focus a lot on building their quality and the skills so that the demand is automatically built. It is not to be pushed. So what we fundamentally believe is that when you have a diamond, it will shine automatically. So we invest a lot in upskilling, giving them platforms, having one-on-one conversations, having a lot of chat-based, support.
No, it's important. It's even important because that is how you understand in a way of meeting their own personal ambitions as well.
Absolutely.
Everybody is working.
Yeah. So we believe a lot in enabling culture. And of course, we at the center of our culture believe in meritocracy. And that's a Comviva way we call it. We all talk about, and our leaders live that Comviva way. And Comviva way typically tells that believe in merit, build on skills, and shine out. So that's how we do it.
We would really like your inputs as well as to what you think about the question that I just asked, and what is new that you can add to it.
No, I completely second with what the others have told. In my view, as an organization, particularly within Randstad, if you ask me, we've taken very conscious and steady effort to support women in the last few years. For instance, equal hiring opportunities. One of the most important thing I would like to touch upon is definitely equal pay and also experience that we create for women at the workplace, which is equally important. So we run our internal pulse check surveys to gather voluntary self-identification data from our people. And then we correlate it with our engagement scores across drivers to see how our people are experiencing the workplace as well. Again, consciously, we keep bridging the equal pay status for our people as well. So these things really go a long way in putting in that trust inside our people and giving them confidence about the equality that we maintain within the organization.
Thank you so much, Divya. My last question to everyone, I would really like all you women, you're doing pretty well at your own stance, but you must also be looking at somebody or to somebody while you're performing your duties, because it is not just the work that you have to fulfill. You have responsibilities at home as well, managing families, managing career, both at the same time. So let's begin with Niharika, who's your role model? Who is it that you look up to and why? What is it one aspect or that one quality that you would like to imbibe or you have already imbibed?
I think I'm going to give a very cliched answer, but for me, it's my sister. She is in the field of media, journalism, just like you, right? She was with NDTV. She writes for Gulf News. She has her own channel. She's a mother of two, with a, and she has a husband who travels quite a bit. So I think she is my role model for a lot of reasons. One is taking up journalism when it was not easy. So I'm talking about numerous years back. So the persistence and the perseverance and the resilience that she had and she still has. The ability to manage so many variables, right? And still able to manage her professional front with flying colors, I think she does a fabulous job. So we talk about women and superwomen, although I honestly believe that one should not strive to be a superwoman, right? Because if one does it, then one falls flat in one's own perceptions. But I think I really look up to her in terms of how she's managed her entire ecosystem. She hasn't left working. She's continued to work in an area in journalism which is not so easy. So yeah, I would say she's one of my role models, definitely.
Fair enough. I believe you must have learned certain qualities from her that you're talking about her today. There must be something very exciting about her that has excited you to make her as your role model.
Perseverance, resilience, ability to manage so many variables, right? And she does it with a flying color and a smile on her face.
I'm sure. Ruhi, over to you.
Yeah, well, my role model would be Nisa Godrej. She's our chairperson. And I genuinely believe that she's one of the boldest women I've ever met. She's so clear. She drives the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda right from the top. We were the first company to sign the LGBTQ pact with UN to provide a safe place. And we were the people who were in support of LGBTQ, even at a time when 377 still existed in the country. She was the first person who went out and said, I stand by LGBTQ, and not just for women. We work a lot with the LGBTQ community, with the trans community. And in fact, I wanted to read out a very nice quote by her, which has always inspired me. So she says, inclusivity does mean innovation. The more inclusive you are, the more debates you can have, the less hierarchy you have, the faster it is to recover from failure. If you think everyone should talk like me, be like me, look like me, have the same background as me, I don't think that would work, and it will lead to a lot of compromises. So she truly believed that inclusivity is leading to innovation, and that's why the Godrej Group strongly stands by diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Very beautifully said. Very beautifully said.
Thank you so much.
Vaishnavi, what's your take? Who's your role model and why?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think I would like to name two women who I personally find very, very inspiring. One is Kalpana Chawla and the other one is Sushma Swaraj.
Okay.
I personally feel that the kind of, breaking stereotype breaking Kalpana Chawla did made an impact on heart of billions of people, especially women, young women, young girls who were inspiring to get into the different fields, and they got to see real role model there. Secondly, Sushma Swaraj, because I think what I really see, apart from any political linkage, as a woman, I saw her being absolutely a firm believer of how a deep-rooted fundamental belief in your own culture, your own support system, your own family can drive success to you. I think she used all those natural skills to her flair, and the kind of magic she did in her department, in her ministry, was still probably a role model to many of them who were filling in that gap. I remember our famous S. Jaishankar Prasad also paying highly of, she speaks very highly of Sushma Swaraj himself. So I think the kind of messages that she has driven to the females who pursuing political career, I think that's immense potential for people to learn from her. So I believe these two. While some of the things that I can talk from what Kalpana Chawla said, maybe inspiring for most of us, is that That's her quote, and which I fundamentally believe is the path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it. So, wishing all of us a great journey ahead is what I can say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Beautiful quote by Kalpana. Divya, over to you. Who is your role model? Whom do you have been looking up to, and why? Is it something that has got your attention pretty recently, or you've been following her for years?
No, Sugandh, to me, inspiration comes from many women. In fact, along the way, it starts from my mother, in fact. From the time I was pursuing this whole ambition of being a HR, I was one of the first in the family to get into a corporate world. So it was pretty difficult to step out of that stereotype from within the family about going to work at all in the first place, otherwise pushing us to get married at a young age and all of that, right? So from there on, how my mother helped me in imbibing that confidence within me.
I guess that's a common mentor for everyone. So everyone must be looking up to their mothers at first.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And there are other people. Example, Kalpana Chawla was one of my inspiration too. Mary Kom is another. I have always been inspired by how humble she has been and the many achievements that she has had and how she's contributed back into the country and how she's represented us very bravely in many forums. So I would definitely say there are inspirations I've taken from many along the way, including my boss, again, for how she is very high on her EQ abilities and how she brings up a lot of trust and confidence within the organization. The many initiatives that we have, I think, initiated in these organizations is because of the creativity that she brings to the table. So I would say inspiration never stops. Today, by being here in this panel, I think I've taken some great points from the others, again, inspiring me to take back to my organization some great inputs. So I think all of this continue to inspire me and take me forward.
No, that's very kind of you to be taking notes from the discussions that are held, because the basic aim and agenda of having such discussions is to hear everyone's views. They might be doing something very different and very exciting within their own organizations, and it's good to learn from each other. Thank you so much, all you lovely ladies. You've taken out time for us, specifically imparted your knowledge